You guys like my post on homoeroticism and female friendship so much, and I had a lot of requests asking me to talk about homoeroticism and male friendships. So let's go. Hi, my name is Dr. Natalie Jones. I've been working in the mental health sector and counseling men and women who are victims and perpetrators of abuse, as well as other mental health challenges. And I want to start out by saying I'm in no way, claiming myself or touting myself to be an expert in same-sex, same-gender loving relationships. But I'm on here talking about, phenomenons that I've worked with over the years and that people have brought to my attention. And given, I've worked in corrections for a number of years, so this stuff also showed up a lot with men in corrections as well. So one of the things that in the observations that I have had in working with people in terms of, how homoeroticism shows up in male friendships is that it will typically start off as, a man going to another man continuously for problem solving and emotional support. And so they are basically using the other man for emotional labor, very much in the same way that they would go to a woman. And so, a lot of times the way it starts is like they have a friend whom they know is gay, or they know has maybe tried other things in their sexual lifestyle. And they will continuously go to that friend and talk about problems that come up in their life, and especially in their relationship. They will again put the feelers out and continue talking about intimacy challenges, or they talk about needing to have a lot more intimacy and not getting enough of it. And this becomes a constant topic of conversation. On my previous post where I talked about the female friendships, one of the women there pointed out this comes up a lot on the Real Housewives, and I'm gonna defer to that here as well, and that I've seen it come up in the Real Housewives. And I'm not saying that this person is gay, and I don't want to certainly call out their sexuality, but one of the people that strikes me as this is I used to watch Real Housewives of New Jersey back in the day, and one of the people that I saw this come up a lot with was Joe Gorga. Teresa's brother. So he would be the person up there that's constantly sort of venting and complaining about intimacy problems and things like that. And it comes across initially as a joking manner, but then it comes across as more of like a problem, like I need it all the time. And so there's that. Second thing that I've noticed is that these men are going to put the feelers out and check to see what you're down with in terms of homosexual behavior. So they may, get in your personal space. So there's the physical proximity. They're going to try to put their hands on you somehow in terms of that. And again, the hands on you can manifest in different ways. It can start off in a joking, playful manner, escalate to become more rough. So it could be, it could start off as like playing around. So one of the things, that would happen a lot with men in prison that would drive me nuts, and nothing would have me put a man out of my class faster than this, is horseplay. So horseplay where men do that rough and rowdy, that wrestling stuff, and then they want to do that, which is also, they're not supposed to do that in prison anyway. You get written up for that. And the reason it would drive me nuts is because I'm dealing with a lot of different personalities in a room, right? So imagine this happening in a group classroom where you've got people that, murder for a living. And people in prison don't play that, because any sudden movements, they're ready to go. But a lot of times what will happen is men would engage in horseplay, putting their hands on men in different areas, and even trying to fake kiss and stuff like that, just to see what you would go for, right? And if you seem to be down with it, they're going to again continue to try to push the envelope, so to speak, to see how much more they can get away with. So eventually they're doing that. So some men do it in a gradual sense, like what I've talked about in horseplay and wrestling and just being more touchy-feely. Other men, unfortunately, they just go straight for the gold. So I've had situations where men have just sort of, I've dealt with people where men have just sort of grabbed them in their groin area and they just forget it. I'm gonna go for it. I think he's into me, right? So they misread signals, right, of like bros coming together or having conversations or having a good rapport, and they're like, okay, well, they're into me, so I'm just gonna go for it. And so next thing you know, they're putting their hand there. They're just basically taking advantage. Sometimes it works, but a lot of times it doesn't, because it'll catch that person off guard. But they'll just sort of do what I call a sneak attack, which is like coming out of left field. You don't see it coming, and boom, then they're there. And then another example, I think, oh gosh, Martin Lawrence did a stand-up special about this years ago. Hold on. I tried to look for it, but I can't find it. Anyhow, so he did a stand-up comedy routine many, many years ago where I think he was talking about like someone who suddenly just sort of came out on him. And before that guy came out to him, the guy was sort of talking about how he looked when he was swimming. And one of the things, and I'll probably do a separate post on this, but men have microscopic vision, right? And so they really pay attention to details. And I think it was either a cousin or a friend or something like that, where he was talking and Martin had been swimming and the guy was talking about how the water was like glistening all over his body. You guys tell me what comedy special that was down below. But that guy paid, he described it like in slow motion, how you dipped your head up and you came up and water was glistening all over your body. And so I mentioned that to say that guys pay very close attention to, how, you look, and they're just sort of describing you blow by blow in sort of this romantic sense. It lets you know that they're looking at every sort of detail in your body. And similar to another point, there can be this jealousy component where it's like, how come you didn't take me, man? Or I noticed that you're moving closer to another friendship. So there can be this jealousy element, and where, feelings are hurt and they see that you maybe have a better rapport, or they perceive you to have a better rapport or friendship with someone else. And so there's sort of this jealousy and this insecurity and this hurt behavior behind it. And I'll go back to the sort of springing things out on you. Another way that guys will sort of spring things out on you to see how you will react is through nudity and nakedness. And it could just, again, it can go back to like, we're swimming, we're doing something fun, it's horseplay, or it's a dare or a stunt, something like that. And I go back to the Housewives of Jersey, and I go back to my example of Joe Gorga, where again he would do this kind of stuff in front of men that were openly gay or led other alternative lifestyles. And he would do it in such a way that it was like in their face, and he was looking for that attention, that reaction from them. And there's just so much more to go on and on. And lastly, one of the things that I will talk about is problems with women. So they're again coming back to problems with their women, especially the woman that they're with, always being a problem, and how you're always such a good friend for being able to support them, and you know just the right things to say.